The engine that changed everything. The morning Marcus Webb pulled into the Pinnacle Technologies parking lot, the entire campus seemed to hold its breath. His midnight blue vintage Mustang coughed once, sputtered twice, and then settled into a low, throaty rumble that echoed off the gleaming glass towers surrounding him. He was 43 years old, wore a janitor's uniform that had been washed so many times the navy had faded to something closer to gray, and he carried his lunch in a paper bag his 8-year-old daughter Sophia had decorated with crayon-drawn stars. He was, by every visible measure, unremarkable. But appearances, as the world was about to learn, can be the most expensive lie we ever believe. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet dignity of people who never give up, hit that like button right now, drop a comment below, share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Stories like this one exist because people like you believe they matter. The humiliation arrived, as it often does, dressed in expensive clothes. Richard Calloway was the kind of man who had never once in his adult life questioned whether he deserved to take up space. He was the CEO of Pinnacle Technologies, worth somewhere north of $4 billion, and he wore that worth on his body the way other men wear cologne, invisible but impossible to ignore. That particular Tuesday morning, he was walking through the employee parking structure with 3 executives and a journalist from a national business magazine when he spotted Marcus's Mustang idling in a visitor spot near the entrance. Calloway stopped walking. He stared at the car the way someone might stare at a stray animal that had wandered into a restaurant. Then he laughed. Not a small laugh. A long, rolling, performed laugh that made the executives around him scramble to join in. He said something loud enough for Marcus, who was unloading cleaning supplies from his trunk nearby, to hear every single word. He called it junk. He said it was an embarrassment on wheels. He wondered aloud, with theatrical cruelty, what kind of person would drive something so pathetically broken into a parking lot filled with vehicles that actually had value. He never once looked at Marcus directly. He didn't need to. The humiliation wasn't personal. It was casual. That was somehow the worst part. Marcus straightened slowly. He closed his trunk. He picked up his supply caddy. And he walked toward the building without a single word, his jaw tight, his eyes carrying something deep and unreadable that none of those laughing men would have recognized even if they had bothered to look. It was not shame. It was grief. There is a particular kind of grief that belongs to people who know exactly what they are worth and must endure the world's insistence that they are worth nothing. What Richard Calloway did not know, what none of them knew, was that the Mustang was not simply an old car. Marcus had rebuilt it from a rusted shell he bought for $300 11 years ago, 2 months after his wife Elena passed away from a heart condition they had discovered too late and could not afford to treat in time. Sophia had been 4 months old when Elena died. Marcus had been 32, broke, hollowed out by grief, and utterly alone. He had taken the janitor position at Pinnacle because it offered night shifts, which meant he could be home with Sophia during the day. He had no family nearby. He had no safety net. He had a daughter who looked exactly like her mother and who fell asleep each night holding a photograph she was too young to fully understand. And he had, tucked inside a locked storage unit across town, something he had been quietly building for 9 years inside that old Mustang's engine bay during every spare hour he could find, something that the world of engineering had never seen before. Marcus had a mind that operated on a different frequency from most people. He had taught himself advanced thermodynamics from library books. He had studied fluid mechanics through free online courses taken on a cracked laptop after Sophia went to sleep. He had corresponded for years, under a pseudonym, with 2 professors at MIT who thought they were exchanging ideas with a research fellow. His formal education had ended at 18 when his mother got sick and he dropped out to work. But his mind had never stopped. And what he had been engineering inside that aging Mustang, hidden beneath the hood, invisible to every eye that dismissed the car as junk, was a revolutionary internal combustion to hydrogen hybrid conversion engine so efficient, so compact, so elegantly designed that it could reduce vehicular carbon emissions by up to 78% at a fraction of current production costs. He had filed a provisional patent 18 months earlier through a legal aid clinic. He had received a response 3 weeks before Richard Callaway laughed at him in the parking garage. A response from one of the largest clean energy investment firms in the world, asking to meet with the inventor. The meeting happened on a Thursday, 4 days after the parking lot incident. Marcus wore his one good shirt and drove the Mustang because he had no other car, and he sat across from a room full of engineers and investors who had reviewed his technical schematics and could not quite reconcile what they were seeing with the man sitting in front of them. They asked him questions that grew increasingly complex, increasingly urgent, increasingly reverent. He answered every single one. Quietly. Precisely. Without performance or flourish. Sophia had texted him a crayon star emoji before he walked in, and he had smiled at his phone in the elevator in a way no one had seen. The offer that came 2 weeks later was valued at $2.3 billion for the licensing rights alone. Marcus asked for one specific clause in the contract. He asked that Pinnacle Technologies, the company where he currently mopped floors and emptied trash cans, be listed as a preferred manufacturing partner, which would create over 400 jobs in the local community where he and Sophia lived. His attorney nearly fell out of her chair. Marcus explained, calmly, that Sophia had friends whose parents needed work. That was reason enough. Richard Callaway learned what had happened the way powerful men often learn the most important lessons of their lives, too late, in front of witnesses, with no graceful exit available. He was in a board meeting when his COO slid a document across the table. He read it once. He read it again. The name on the patent. The name on the licensing agreement. The name that had been mopping the floors of his building for 6 years while quietly reshaping the future of clean energy. His face did something complicated that the room would remember for a long time. Marcus was informed of Callaway's reaction by a colleague and responded with 3 words that would later be repeated in every article written about him. He said only that he hoped the man was well. That was all. No bitterness. No triumph. Just the quiet grace of someone who had learned, through years of real suffering, that other people's cruelty says nothing about your worth and everything about their blindness. If this story moved something inside you, if you thought of someone who was ever underestimated, overlooked, or made to feel small, please take 1 second and drop the word Mustang in the comments. Let us know this story reached you. Sophia was 9 years old on the day her father signed the contract. He picked her up from school in the old blue Mustang, the same one that had been called junk, the same one that had carried them through every hard year, every cold morning, every quiet grief. She climbed in, buckled her seatbelt, and asked him how his day was. He told her it went pretty well. She handed him a drawing she'd made at school, a car with stars all over it, and underneath, in unsteady letters, the words "Dad's cool car." He held it for a long moment before he started the engine. Then he drove them home, through the ordinary streets of their ordinary neighborhood, in the most extraordinary vehicle the world had ever seen. Some people carry empires inside them that the world never thinks to look for. Be the person who looks. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to believe in themselves today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because kindness, here, is never in short supply.